How are you? It's Miss Cheryl again. We have story time. I have a wonderful book. I read this over the weekend and I like it so much. It's called Henry the Brave and the Cancerasaurus. And the book is by Meg Hutter. And it's a story, it kind of helps us deal with challenges because sometimes we have challenges in life that are pretty big. And this is very helpful. So let's get started with the story of Henry the Brave. That's him up there too. And the Cancerasaurus. Okay, let's get started. Henry was a little boy who lived alone in a big wild forest. His house was a mushroom. Oh, that's cool. And his favorite game was catching bugs. I used to do that too. As much as Henry loved exploring the woods, life was lonely. Aside from old Mr. Toad in the nearby pond, Henry didn't have any friends until one day when he woke up and there was a small lump in the bed next to him. Eek! He shrieked as he peeled back the blankets. Curled up next to him was a very weird looking creature. It was covered in scales and spikes and smelled like old socks. He sure looked strange, Henry thought, but maybe he could be my friend. Everywhere Henry went, the little creature followed. If Henry swung from a vine, the creature was not far behind. If he hopped on lily pads, it followed him with a splash. Henry thought he would like the company, but the creature did not laugh or play. I did not want to have any fun. It didn't want to have any fun. In fact, ever since the creature had arrived, Henry had started to feel sick and tired. It was a horrible friend. Very politely, Henry asked the creature to leave. He ignored it and even locked the front door, but somehow the creature was always close by. There he is when he first found him, under his covers. One day, while sitting by the pond, Mr. Toad appeared. "Henry, are you okay?" he asked. "You used to love using your long wiggly fingers to catch worms for me. Now you just sit there looking sad." "It's true," Henry said, looking into the shadows. "Ever since that thing showed up, I don't feel like playing. I'm tired and grumpy all the time. And the worse I feel, the bigger it gets." Oh, God, now it's bigger. He threw a stone at the beast, which was now the size of a large dog. Mr. Toad frowned. "Looks like you have a Cancerasaurus," he explained. "If you want to feel better again, you'll need to make the long journey to the oncology castle. It is there you will find the magical wizard Drunk. Only Drunk has the potion that will banish the Cancerasaurus once and for all." Mr. Toad pointed to the mountains Henry would need to pass. But, I'm just a boy," Henry cried. "I'm not brave or strong enough for such a big journey." Mr. Toad reassured Henry that even little boys can do great things. "Just say and believe these magic words. I am strong. I am tough. I am armed with love." Henry whispered the words, but all he felt was fear. The next day, Henry set off for the oncology castle. He passed through woods and streams, climbed up mountains, and trudged down valleys. With every step he took, he grew a little bit weaker. With the Cancerasaurus grew stronger. When he felt like giving up, he whispered the magic words, "I am strong. I am tough. I am armed with love." Each time he gave him a little more strength. Along the way, he met a lot of critters. There was a clumsy spider who had gotten tangled in its own web. "Here, let me help you," Henry said to the spider as he ripped through the sticky mess. "I wish I was as strong as you," proclaimed the spider. as it wiggled free. The spider's words made Henry feel a little better. Later that day, Henry was waiting for a storm to pass when he heard faint squeaks coming from a tree trunk. It was a nest of hungry baby squirrels. Aw, Henry quickly began searching the forest floor for nuts. It took all the energy he had to crack them open and feed the little puffs of fur. Wow, you are tough, they cried out. When the storm cleared, Henry waved goodbye. By the time Henry left the forest and started climbing the mountain, his shoes were covered in holes. He had walked so far. He longed for his warm mushroom house. Up ahead, he noticed a huge lizard on a rock, and it was crying. Henry felt sorry for the lizard, but decided to keep walking. He had to reach the castle, and his legs were getting wobbly. I am strong. I am tough. I am armed with love, he whispered. The lizard overheard him. Love, she cried. No one loves me. I'm so ugly. Henry sighed. He didn't want to stop and chat with the sad lizard, but his heart felt heavy. He knew what it felt like to be sad and lonely. So he says, that's not true. You're not ugly, he said. I like your bright yellow spots and big green eyes, and your strong sticky feet are awesome. I bet you can run really fast. The lizard beamed, but then she noticed how sick Henry appeared and saw the huge creature lurking in the shadows behind him. Henry's Cancerasaurus was now as tall as the trees. It just keeps growing. Look at that thing. Ew. Oh, you've come to see the wizard, she said knowingly, glaring at the beast without another word. The lizard lifted Henry on her back and started up the steep mountain towards the gleaming castle in the distance. The Cancerasaurus followed, growing bigger every step of the way. When the lizard finally reached the wizard's castle, Henry could barely stand. He used all the energy he had to push open the castle doors and step inside. Who enters my castle? Asked a loud, booming voice. At first, Henry was too afraid to speak. He was just a boy, and he felt so small. But remembering Mr. Toad, he whispered the magic words, I am strong, I am tough, I am armed with love. A small flame of hope flickered inside of him. I am Henry, and I'm here to see Drunk the Wizard, he announced into the dark. A deep rumbling filled the castle. Even the huge Cancerasaurus looked afraid. Then, in a big puff of smoke, a short man appeared in a robe with a long white beard. The wizard wasn't nearly as scary as his booming voice. In fact, he looked quite silly with his big goofy necklace. I am Drunk, and I see you've brought a friend, said the wizard, frowning. Henry shook his head. The Cancerasaurus is no friend of mine. I need your help to get rid of it once and for all. Drunk thought for a second and then said, I will give you the potion, but there is a catch. Henry groaned. He was so tired. He wasn't sure he could take more bad news. The Cancerasaurus steals your strength, young man, to grow bigger. Drunk told him, there is only one way to stop this growth. To steal the strength from the Cancerasaurus, the potion must also steal yours. Henry's heart beat faster and his knees trembled. The wizard stepped forward with the potion in his hand. The potion will help, but the best way to defeat a Cancerasaurus is here. He touched his hand to Henry's chest. The memories that live in your heart, said the wizard. Think of the times when you felt happy. Henry immediately thought of his adventures catching bugs and swimming in the pond with Mr. Toad. Imagine yourself doing something strong and brave. Henry pictured all the creatures he had helped along his journey. Look at that thing. Ew. Drunk handed Henry the potion. Trembling, Henry swallowed it down in one gulp. Immediately, the Cancerasaurus let out an angry cry and began stomping its ugly feet. It roared and whined. It wiggled and jerked. Then slowly it started to grow smaller. But even as it shrunk from the size of a house to a truck, Henry felt his strength draining away too. Drunk pointed at the Cancerasaurus and said, "This is your chance, Henry." Again, remembering Mr. Toad, Henry heard him say, "Even little boys can do great things. Just say and believe these magic words." Henry opened his mouth, used all of his energy, and said, "I am strong. I am tough. I am armed with love." But he couldn't believe them. He wasn't strong or tough. All he wanted to do was give up. And if he was armed with love, then why did he feel so alone? The Cancerasaurus took one big step towards Henry, then another. Its eyes were glaring, and with each step, it started to grow bigger once more. But as it towered over the boy, something happened. For the first time, Henry noticed that he was not alone in the castle. Standing in the corner was the lizard he had befriended, who had carried him up the mountain. "I believe in you, Henry," said the lizard. Behind her, hanging in the door, was the spider he helped out of its web. And along the wall, a mama squirrel with a line of baby squirrels under her tail. Even Mr. Toad from his pond was there. All different kinds of animals and bugs from the forest had come. "We believe in you, Henry," they shouted. Mr. Toad is right, Henry thought. To make the Cancerasaurus disappear for good, I must believe the magic words. Not just say them, I must believe it. Just like all these animals and new friends believe in me. His voice was almost a whisper, but it rang with truth. "I'm strong," he says. "I am tough," he cried, taking a step toward the Cancerasaurus. The beast could not steal his happiness, even as it roared at him in fury. "I am armed with love." As he yelled this, the animals began to cheer. Yay! The magic words had been spoken, but Henry had more to say. "I will fight." He raised a fist. The castle rumbled and the walls shook. The Cancerasaurus wasn't looking so big and scary anymore. In fact, it had shrunk down to the size of a big angry cow. "I will win." The Cancerasaurus gave a yelp and shriveled down to the size of a mouse. "I am Henry the Brave," he shouted. Even so, it bared its teeth, swung its claws, and let out a pathetic roar. Henry laughed. He wasn't afraid anymore with those final words. Henry bent down and picked up the tiny Cancerasaurus. It was barely larger than his thumb. And with that, poof, the Cancerasaurus was gone in a puff of green, foul-smelling smoke. That evening, the castle was filled with music and laughter and magic. Henry had forgotten how good it felt to not have the Cancerasaurus following him like a dark storm cloud. But when he imagined returning to his safe little mushroom home, instead of feeling warm, he felt a bit sad. He was glad his long journey was over, but he would miss all his new friends. "You showed great bravery and kindness," Henry Drunk said, appearing beside him, "not only for yourself, but to all the creatures you met along your journey. I could use an assistant like you to help make potions for others in need." Henry was filled with joy when Drunk asked if he would stay in the castle. Henry immediately agreed, under one condition: "As long as I can still visit Mr. Toad in the pond." Drunk smiled. "Of course. And your new friends are always welcome here too." And with that, Henry lived happily in the castle, surrounded by friends and helping others in need. He never saw the stinky, cranky Cancerasaurus again, and he never stopped believing those magic words. "I am strong. I am tough. I am armed with love. I will fight. I will win. I am Henry the Brave." I love that story. And boys and girls, sometimes we have challenges that we have to face and they're difficult to deal with, but just remember, we don't have to face them alone, and that's when it's time for us to call on our superpowers. And we all have superpowers, every single last one of them. And most of our superpowers are like super moms and super dads and super friends. We've got other people to help us get through things. But just remember, the power is within you and all those around you. Stay strong.